what's working for us right now is the price cut videos, new construction communities.
A lot of times people go off course. They start going into things like how to sell a house and how to get a mortgage and these topics that do not generate leads. Sometimes it's not about getting creative. Just keep it very, very simple.
If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lassick and my partner is Travis Plum. Let's get started.
Today on the Passive Prospecting Podcast, we are talking about remaking your videos as we move into 2025. And it's really hard to believe that we're already pretty much through Q1, but it's okay. Look, we can start looking at how we're going to start remaking videos from last year or even the year before. And I'll bring up Chrissy along with me here today. How are you today?
Awesome. As always. If I can talk.
There you go. Get the blibber blabbers out of the mouth.
Hey.
So yeah, let's talk about let's see here. Remaking videos, because this is something that I think most people believe that everyone is watching every single one of your videos, first of all, which is not really the case. Now, I know that once you get phone calls from clients on YouTube and they tell you, hey, we've watched every single video, we've binge watched your channel. But if you look in your analytics, it probably tells a different story. And so I think there's a lot of room there to remake videos. And you know, also, I think if you experiment around with this and do it anyways, you're going to find that probably not going to get called out on it. You know, nobody's going to say, oh, hey, by the way, didn't you just make this video last year or something like that? And again, people move on. And you think about it, I mean, with your subscriber base, it's not like you're getting that many views every single video. So that tells you right there that your subscriber base is not watching every single video. Otherwise, if that were the case, you know, for us, 43,000 subscribers, every video should get 43,000 views minimum, you know, but that tells us right there automatically that nope, not everybody's watching every single video. Now, there's also an analytic you can look at, and in the back end, if you go into advanced mode on your analytics tab and then sort, now you can only go back 90 days on this. I'm not sure why they limit it to 90 days, but you can toggle back to the last 90 days. And if you click on more content, so it'll be defaulted to content, and then there's going to be a drop down box and you can click on more metrics, which has a lot of metrics in there. And if you want to look at average views per viewer, whenever you look at that, now, according to some other YouTube coaches on the platform and who coach on YouTube in general, not YouTube and real estate, but they talk about this should be at 1.5 or above. And I look at our number and it's 1.7. So they indicate that this means at a 1.5 that 50% of your audience is coming back to watch a second video. But that's, as far as I know, the extent of that metric, which, all right, so that tells you, okay, at least half the audience, or for us at 1.7, 70% of our audience is coming back to watch a second video. However, if we publish 4 videos per month, then I think we'd really want that to be around 4, right? I mean, I think that's would be it. So that's also could be an indication that, okay, yes, a majority of our audience comes back and watches a second video, but are they continuing after that? And I think that clearly gets averaged out over time as well, because yes, you may have one person comes in and they watch 10 videos or 15 videos or 20 videos. They're extremely serious about it. Somebody comes in, they watch a couple of videos, and then they could either move on to the next channel, or maybe there's a personality conflict and they say, I don't know if I really like this Levi guy, so I'm going to find something else. Or, you know, they're just kind of poking around and, you know, maybe the move is not as important at this moment. Hopefully they come back later.
Hey, you should check out my new community for free. It's where I host all of my more in-depth trainings, and you're going to get access to step-by-step courses showing you how to get buyer and seller leads for your business using passive prospecting, a supportive community of over 1,300 members, and weekly group coaching sessions you can attend and ask questions. Now, this community is all about passive prospecting and getting quality buyer and seller leads through YouTube without spending a penny on ads or cold calling. Now, the link is in the description below, so make sure you join for free today and say hi to me when you get in the community. I look forward to seeing you there.
But ideally, we're looking at, people that come back. Yes, they'll watch everything, but still the likelihood that they catch the same type of video from the year before or even 2 years before is probably not going to happen. Plus, I think about people that have bought homes with us. Do they have incentive to continually watch the channel? That's always the question I've had. Or, and maybe not, because I mean, after you find your home, you make the move, do you want to watch all the new videos about all the new communities that you didn't buy in, coming up? And so, it's something that is interesting aspect. So there is not much incentive for them to continue watching unless they're just interested in homes and real estate and communities in general, or want to get to know Dallas even better. So yes, there's both sides to that. But ultimately, when it comes to making videos, this is something that you should be looking at. And even going back 1 to 2 years on your most viewed videos, first and foremost, and you can go into the content tab in your YouTube studio and sort easily by views. And then you can look at, okay, what are my top viewed videos over the last, just first of all, in general. So you might want to look at the top 5 or the top 10 and think about how can I recreate these, unless they were made within the last quarter. Maybe it could be too soon. Although I have talked to one person, that I talk to sometimes. Usually we chit chat once a month or so about some YouTube stuff here and there. But he said he pretty much makes videos or remakes them in some different fashion every quarter. So he's finding videos that are popping off and getting a lot of views, and he's just kind of repackaging it, different thumbnail, different title, maybe rearranging some of the top 10s. And he does mostly office videos. It's interesting. He's found that most of his outdoor videos don't do well. And it's funny how sometimes you get niched into your own channel, and I find that always interesting. So he's found success there. Multiple videos with hundreds of thousands of views for his area. I know they're doing a ton of business. He had his best year ever last year in 2024 for real estate. And so, which most people's, it was their worst year, lowest transaction count in the last 30 years. I mean, the business just wasn't there. And it's really interesting to hear the stories from agents, because some had their best year ever and the other ones just like fell flat. There's very little in between. It seems like it was either a great year and people capitalized and their marketing really served them well, especially online marketing, video marketing. And then the other just flopped and really had a hard time. I haven't really spoken to a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, just maintain consistently, my 1 or 2 transactions a month or something like that. It was either feast or famine, it seemed like. So just interesting on what happened last year. We'll see what happens with this year. But again, I think we just assume that everybody is watching every single one of our videos, and therefore it's like, oh my goodness. And that's why also the biggest fear of people getting started is, am I going to run out of content? And I'm like, well, first of all, you need to make some content first.
Right.
Make some videos first, and then this is what they're, you don't want to think about all the things that can go wrong or may go wrong or business limitations. I mean, it's good to think of that from a strategic standpoint, but that's the thing, is that you should be able to map out. And actually we do that for people especially in our workbook. You get our workbook, or come through the program, or come join us on the 3-day event. I mean, we give you the first 8 months at least to kick you off. And if you do that, well, and it depends on how many areas you're working, or suburbs or neighborhoods or something like that. But the average is around 8. And so we can easily structure 8 months worth of content around that.
Allow me to take a quick break to remind you that we have very important links in the description below. If you want the full story of how we closed over $1 million in commissions our first year and over $2.3 million in commissions our second year, check out the first link. Also, you have the link to our #1 Amazon best-selling book, Passive Prospecting. Last, if you enjoy this podcast and you're a giving person, leave a 5-star review, please. Now back to the episode.
And during that time frame, you should get some ideas. You'll see other methods. Of course, you can always look at our channel. I mean, we've got hundreds of videos on there, so you can look at that and say, okay, I'll just remake this for Denver, Colorado, or Charleston, South Carolina. I'll just do this in a different format. But overall, you're not going to get in trouble for remaking videos, and also you're probably not going to get called out on it either. And it could open you up to new audiences and new opportunities on YouTube. Chrissy, what do you think about that? Videos.
Yeah, well, this is a question that has really come up with a lot of our clients recently. And the thing about it is that, especially when you're highlighting an area, a lot of people like to see those communities and those cities in different seasons, because sometimes people are, deathly, like me. If you're like me, you absolutely hate snow. I was raised in it, but I hate the snow. And so that was one thing that I wanted to make sure when we moved to this area, that wasn't going to be a normal thing. I didn't want to have normal snowfall here, so people are going to want to see, what does it really look like in the summertime? Everybody assumes when they come to Georgia that Georgia is always just deathly hot. Everyone that I talk to, they just assume that, especially in the summers, it's sweltering. And there are a couple of months of the season that it is, but most of the year it's very pleasant. And so when you're highlighting different seasons, it gives people a good idea of what to expect in every season. So remaking that content is not going to hurt you. It actually will probably get people to watch more than one video, because they're going to want to see what it looks like if they're really going to make a relocation move from a completely different climate, especially. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then, of course, as you're remaking the videos, you're also going to naturally highlight different things too. It's not like you're following an exact script, especially if you're following the passive prospecting process. We kind of encourage handling your hook and your payout and really being clear about those things. But in between, you're kind of just going off the cuff and experiencing it with the viewer. And so a lot of times you're going to end up naturally highlighting new things that you didn't talk about before, things that are more timely and more relevant now. So every time you freshen up a video, you're going to attract a new person, and you might even get another person who's already watched that video to come back and watch again.
Yeah. The other thing, speaking about remaking videos and timing as well. I mean, we did several episodes, or not several episodes, but we've talked frequently about, taking advantage of holiday traffic and taking advantage of those opportunities. And we see this for the last 4 years in a row. We start getting a ton of traffic in September. And, now we're at the point too, where we're starting to see a little bit of it tailing off. And it's like, all right, so that motivates me to, number one, to try to create some better content or get back in the mix, so to speak. But it's interesting because it's been very consistent for us year after year of this same spike during this time frame. And then we see February, March kind of die down a little bit. And then April and May, it pops back up again. And then we see it kind of dip again for summertime. And then we, come back in September. So I'm going to see if we can't work through that in a different way this go around. But, also what you really, and you have to plan for it right now, because as we end up in March, you're coming into spring and summer. So, clearly ideal video times for outdoors, communities, grass is green, trees have the leaves, flowers are blooming, amazing. You might want to think about actually doubling up on content or making content to get ready to publish for 2026. And it's one thing, because if you wait around till right now, spring or summer, for everything to green up, and then you want to make a 2025 video, sure, you can do that, but you're kind of missing out on the opportunity for half the year, right? Because if you release something, anything with a date in it, like 2025 is always likely going to perform better in even late December. January, February, March is probably going to be the ideal times for that. When you publish a video and put a 2025 on it in summertime, June, it's kind of like, the hype of 2025 is kind of over at that moment. So,
hey, real quick, if you're thinking about changing brokerages or you're brand new and you're thinking about choosing a brokerage, well, Travis and I would love to talk to you about partnering with us at EXP. You'll get access to all of our coaching, training, and courses at no cost, but mainly we want to see if we're a good fit for each other. So just check the description below and you can book a call with myself and Travis, and we look forward to speaking with you.
And you can always remove that. So if you're concerned about having an evergreen video or something, you can always, we use a platform called TubeBuddy, and that allows you to do bulk addition or subtraction on certain keywords in your title. So if you put in 2025, you can actually remove that from from each video. You could even change it to 2026 if you want to. Now, that's one aspect you could look at as well. If you do publish in spring or summer, it's probably pretty fresh to where you could just change that date to 2026 in January. But at the same time, people will see, oh, this was published 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And there's still room for that to have traction or to be evergreen. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if you really want to step outside the norm of what people do, then you might want to consider filming some of this content right now in the spring and summer and holding on to it, as long as most of it will still be relevant. Now, if you feature certain homes or prices, that could be tricky, but if you do something like a community overview or a blog tour or community tour or something like that, you might want to think about how you can make that in a way that maybe you're not talking about pricing in general. You're talking about more of, generalities around the area, information, which would be evergreen anyways. I mean, you put house pricing right now in a video, and that's a big indicator of not having an evergreen aspect to it. So it's interesting because those things are changing now. And now we're seeing prices, at least in this area. It's funny. On that, I watched a video last night from one of my favorite market crash people, because I like watching those videos. The market's been crashing since 2020, but they yeah. But it's funny because they stopped by. They're kind of doing a road show now, and some of these market crash people are getting out on the road, and they're making so much money from their YouTube channel, right? Hundreds of thousands of views to tell everyone how the market is crashing. And now they're just kind of like doing road shows, going city to city. But it was interesting because he came to Frisco but then, talked about how everything was cookie cutter and you have no yards and it's generic. But then said, but home prices are up, 1.5% year over year, while the rest of the market is crashing. And it was interesting because it really mimicked our video on the 200,000 versus $2 million, because he was directly talking about $2 million properties in Fields, Frisco. And then all of a sudden popped over to the same community with the $200,000 homes and was like, now here's some affordable homes I haven't seen priced in quite some, ever, or in the last 3 or 4 years. I haven't seen homes in the $200,000 range. And anyways, but they just said, look, this is really important that you look at hyper-local markets and hyper-local, because it doesn't mean everyone's crashing everywhere. And areas like Frisco, where the median income is $175,000.
Yeah.
He even said there's probably not going to be a crash in this area because the incomes are there, the demand is there, even though everything's generic and cookie cutter and you have no yard apparently. But I mean, if you're also walking by some of the townhomes and and more affordable homes in that community. And if you're going to be in fields, I mean, that's a 2,500 acre development that is going to be a city within the city. I mean, there's so much that's going to be happening in there. I mean, that's what you're paying for. I don't know if you need the yard, right? Because you're going to have Universal Studios in your community as a part of it, So it's like you should be at Universal Studios or the PGA or all the other crazy stuff that they're building. I mean, so much in there.
Crazy. Hey, you should check out our new community for free. This is where we host all of our in-depth training. You can get access to full-length courses and a vibrant, supportive community of business owners just like you who are generating leads from YouTube. We also offer Q&As and trainings all week long to make sure that we're supporting you in your YouTube journey no matter where you are. This group is all about passive prospecting so that you don't have to spend money on ads, cold call, door knock, or do any of the traditional marketing methods that most people don't like to do. So the link is in the description below. Make sure you sign up, say hi to me in the community, and I will plan on seeing you on YouTube.
So I don't know, I went off on a little tangent there, but otherwise, yes, I mean, there's different ways to strategize on this, and you have to think about doing that. Now, if you want to get ahead of it and you really want the longevity of the year, you might want to think about filming either in maybe late summer, right before fall hits. You could do that as well. And if you can hold on to a couple of videos, 4 or 5 key ones, then as far as community or outdoors, that may be interesting. Now, it'd be funny though, if you're in Canada and, January comes around and you've got, 10 feet of snow on the ground and you're all of a sudden you're like, well, here we are outside and it's a beautiful sunny day and the grass is green. Maybe that's a little awkward. But, any office videos, you could clearly, get those prepped. You could even make some of those in December and get them ready to be released, because by releasing throughout January, first couple of weeks with your, top 10 this, top 8 this, top 7 this, or things to look out for 2026. These are all videos that you want to plan for and probably make a little bit in advance. But if you've already done something like that, how simple is it to remake it?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, one thing you said just kind of sparked a thought for me. A lot of times people think that because they start running out of ideas, they run out of content, they have to get super creative. And that's when I see a lot of times people go off course because, they start going into things like how to sell a house and how to get a mortgage and these topics that do not generate leads. And I know that there's people out there that will say, well, I know someone who's generating leads with these videos. Trust me, they're an outlier. I've seen so many channels, hundreds of channels that have tried to do the exact same thing and have not generated leads. So sometimes it's not about getting creative. Sometimes you have to just not dumb it down, but, just keep it very, very simple and go back to what was successful for you before and what you've seen has worked for, the passive prospecting process, because that's what generates leads quickly. So, going back and redoing a vlog tour or pros and cons or a map video. And even if you title it differently and you want to make it sound more interesting, those are the pillars you want to stick to in most cases. So go back, find a way to reinvent another video, and you're probably going to be better off than, trying to go. I had a guy once that I was on a call with, and he said, you know what? I just feel like I want to go do a helicopter tour, and I'm going to jump out of the helicopter. I'm going to take aerial footage. I'm not kidding. This was literally our conversation. And he wanted to take aerial footage of this little community. And there were like $350,000 homes. My guy, like, let's not get so crazy.
And a helicopter?
He never made the video, by the way. I mean, I tried to convince him not to do it anyway, but he was, no, I'm totally doing that. And he gave me his content plan and he never did it. He never did any other videos either, So, I mean, when you try to do things that are too extra, you try to go too outside the box, as fun as that would be. And hey, maybe a helicopter tour jumping out of it, that would be a really good hook. But you don't have to do that to be successful. You don't have to do that to generate the leads. You can go back to those, like I always say, the boring basics, and you can reinvent those things and do it in your own unique way. But, straying from those content pillars is going to be what makes it so your channel doesn't generate the leads.
Yeah. Yeah. But right now, as well as things are getting ready to green up, again, this is a great time to take advantage of start making all those community. And that's the way I tend to lean. I mean, we've been out and about still. I mean, I made one of my last videos we just published. It was 20 degrees outside whenever I was filming that. A little bit chilly here, and this North Texas cold is a lot different than northern cold. It's much worse. It's really bone chilling and not fun to be around. But went inside the houses. Hopefully, luckily the houses had heat going on in there, but otherwise it's interesting, for what's working for us right now. And feedback from the team is what we're getting the most calls from is the price cut videos. Mm-hmm. And this is something you should be able to look for in your area is new construction communities, or even, sort on your MLS or Zillow, whatever you want to use, and look for price cuts. We're seeing in the Dallas area, it's interesting because I think a lot of builders have just overpriced inventory. So we're seeing some anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 price cuts. But even with the $100,000 price cuts, that just really brings the pricing more in alignment with normal comps in the area and what's more realistic. So I think they're just got a little over ambitious on their pricing. So I wouldn't say that the market's crashing here in the North Dallas area, because you're seeing some builders cut prices $100,000. It's just not happening. So for that, now listings again sitting a little bit longer, but buyers, you got the power. Actually, I just contracted on a new property and another one. So this one's going to be probably like a Dallas office location, so to speak. I've been scouting out office locations. I just now with little Lucas running around, and as much as I love that, it's just very distracting for me to be at home. I don't know how you do it, Chrissy.
Oh, trust me. You see, when I have threatened children not to come into my office, they're usually in here about, 90% of the time. So
yeah. Okay.
I get it.
So
totally
you're like, okay, I've got to do a training and it's not that, I mean, he's figured out that I have an office now, and which is cute. It's like the cutest thing in the world, because I have glass doors. So yes, for him to be he's trying to push through the glass to get to you. It's the cutest thing ever, but then it also doesn't make me want to work.
That breaks your heart a little bit.
Yeah. So then I got to draw the shades, but like right now you don't hear it, but he's upset about something. He's probably tired. He needs a nap. And so he's out there crying and actually, day 2 of our 3-day event. He was really, really crying. Now he's such a little fatty McDaddy. He's just like, if we don't feed him now, he starts getting vocal. And, but it's interesting to see that. And so I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to start looking for office spaces. And I thought that I look at commercial and it's just I don't find what I'd like in commercial. A lot of it's lease. I don't want to lease. And most that is for sale is you got to buy multiple units or the whole building or something like that. So I haven't really found something on the commercial side that I've liked, but also I've just thought, what, I don't know, why don't I just buy another house? Justin, one of our consultants that we work with, he in his neighborhood, he bought the house across the street from his house and he turned that into his office. So now he just walks across the street. He got everything he needed. I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Whenever I went to go hang out with Ryan Pineda, he invited me to Arizona last month. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go make some podcast runs and go, I'm gonna be on like Tommy Mello and Jeremy Miner's podcast and Robert. I mean, some pretty cool people, right? And he's like, you want to come along and meet them? And I was like, absolutely, let's go. So went and hung out for a day, and Robert, who runs a SaaS company, he's up in this high rise downtown. I guess we're in Phoenix, maybe. I think. We're in Phoenix, and he's in this downtown high rise, basically an apartment building. Yeah. But he got the 2 units at the end, the 2 corner units that are across from each other. So literally he lives in one, and then across the hall, he walks across the hall, and he's got podcast studio set up, everything.
cool.
And so it's just like, oh, interesting. And so I found a house. I found a house down by my Dallas house, and it's on the main road where you could which is full of just all historic homes. And this home's a 1925 home, completely remodeled, and right on the main road. So if I wanted to convert it, which some of those homes, have been converted into commercial space, but lots of traffic, literally 1 block from Whole Foods, restaurant, coffee, you could walk literally 1 block and you have all of that stuff. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy cow. And it's like, it was $200 a square foot under the comps in the area. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, okay, hold on a second. But it also had been dropped $150,000 from their pricing. So I'm going, what's going on here? And I went and checked out the home, and looks fine. Now they put some cheap cabinets in there, and otherwise everything else was fine. I'm looking through it, and of course we're about to go through inspection, but I'm looking at them like, okay, cabinets are cheap, but at the same time, not really big deal, especially if I plan to do this as an office. But it's got a perfect layout as far as living room, kitchen, dining room, but then has like a huge den that's closed off or has doors, which could be a conference room. Perfect. And that's all and there's a half bath on the first floor. So perfect scenario. And then upstairs is 4 bedrooms, 4 corner, because the home is pretty much like a rectangle. It's maybe a square. Yeah, looks like an old Tudor, that's awesome. But square. And then the bedrooms upstairs are on, the 4 corners with 2 bathrooms. So it's a perfect scenario for each one of those to be an own office or a podcast studio or something like that. And then there's a ton of room in the back. And I immediately am thinking about, I could build a 4-car garage with, probably like a duplex above, an apartment over each of the 2-car garage. And so there's room to build in the back. If I turn that into commercial, there's just all these opportunities with that. But not only did they drop the price $150,000, which made it about $200 under the market. Then also I went in there and I asked for 5% concessions and 5% commission. and I talked to the agent. I found out it was a foreclosure. And the seller is the bank. And the bank actually went in there and remodeled it, which made sense why the cabinets, they just threw some cheap cabinets in there.
Yeah.
But the countertops are fine, and the cabinets look great. It's just like once you get up close and you're like, they're kind of like laminate, but they look like wood cabinets. But
I know,
it's more like laminate wood.
Your Walmart warehouse.
Yeah, it looks like Chinese cabinets. I got some. But aesthetically, you stand 2 feet away and you're like, oh, well, those are pretty cabinets. When you open a door, you're kind of like, oh, these are
light.
But I'm also like, okay, big deal. No worries. If I ever want to resell this, I could replace the cabinets and
easy
get that value back. But anyways, they came back and they said, no, we'll do 3% concessions and 3% commission. And I was like, no, let's do 4% concession and 4% commission. So, and then they come back and then they go, oh, we didn't realize you were an agent. So we're going to do 2, actually, and they said, we're going to do 2.5 seller concessions and 1% commission because you're an agent. And I was like, nope. I said, that's not going to work. I said, we can settle on the 3 and 3. I said, first of all, you already countered with the 3 and 3. So I said, I know you're willing to do it. And I said, also, you're not going to penalize me because I'm an agent. I said, you're not going to take that away from me. So I know you're willing to do 3% on the commission and the seller concession. So that's where we're going to have to settle at. It took them a couple of days. They were a little silent, but then they came back and they were like, okay, we'll take that. So that really gives me like another $75,000 off that property.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so, and what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to reimburse myself for part of the down payment, but I'm also going to buy the rate down, and do a 2-1 buy down. And hopefully within the next 2 years, rates come down. And I mean, Trump said he's going to bring them down, but that power lies within the buyers right now. So, again, and it's a great deal for the area. And I don't know where I was going with that, other than the fact that there's opportunity out there. I think right now, especially on YouTube, you're capturing. People. It was funny, right? Somebody said yesterday, "Well, I only want to work with sellers." I'm like, "Why?" Well, I was told sellers, take 10 hours and buyers take 30 hours. Like, okay, so well, first of all, I said I've been paid on 482 transactions, and I haven't opened a single door. I haven't even written a contract, and I've been paid on 482 transactions. So do you think I like buyers or I don't like buyers? And sellers right now, I said, by the way, try to put a listing up right now. And if you're not aggressively priced correctly, and then also have everything in the home, it's going to sit there for a minute. But the thing is that you just have to take advantage. You have to create the content first and foremost.
Yeah.
Create the content, recreate the content, and you're going to be just fine. Just stay consistent. First and foremost as well. You got to stop worrying about all these other things. Oh, somebody's already seen this video, or if I remake it, somebody's going to call me out in the comments. So what? Even if they do, that's like one person out of, what if you get 10,000 views or 20,000 views? Who cares? And one person says, hey, it's interesting because a couple of weeks ago, we remade a video. We've got this $7 million property we filmed, and it blew up, right? It's about to hit 300,000 views. So a builder invited us they're like, we got this badass spec home we just filmed, or we just built, $4.5 million, staged it, beautiful property. Can you come film it? I was like, sure, absolutely. So we did that, and we basically recreated that video that got us 300,000 views. And this one bombed out. I want to say bombed out, but it was a 10 out of 10, and it's still, yeah, it's starting to gain some traction now. Clearly it's got a little, it's got some evergreenness to it, so to speak. So it's starting to gain traction now, but still it's interesting, because even when you remake a video, sometimes that doesn't mean it's going to perform exactly the same way. Could do better than the last time you made it, could do worse. So it was just interesting, because we kind of structured the intro. We even used the same song, which I found that, and that song I found on a different channel, that like every single video they publish, gets a couple 100,000 views, and it's nothing any different. It's just new construction walkthroughs, and so, but the song I found on one of their videos, I was like, oh man, that's a really good song, a good intro song. And then I sorted their channel by most popular, and they had reused that song and it was like their top 3 videos had that song. Yeah. And then when we used that on the J. Anthony home, and now it's 300,000 views. I'm like, oh, is there something to this song maybe, And so we were like, let's reuse that song. Mm-hmm. First of all, not a single person on the channel has said, hey, that song was the same song from the other video,
Yeah.
But also the video just did not perform anywhere close, or at least has not at this point. Now, if it for some reason takes off
at some point,
yeah, I don't know. But another one of our most popular videos is Don't Move to Dallas. That one
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, probably. Still, it's hundreds of thousands of views, and still gets that. And then I was like, well, I'm going to recreate that. And we kind of recreated that with Travis. It was me and Travis, kind of the same thing. And, it didn't really perform. the same. So it's interesting. Sometimes that's the way it is, but sometimes we've recreated videos and they do just as well. Or we do something kind of like in a series, kind of like I did the top 7 suburbs North Dallas, and then top 7 suburbs South Dallas, top 7 suburbs East Dallas. Those all have performed pretty consistently, so something like that. But I didn't say, hey, this is a series or anything like that. But yeah, it's just a way to also recycle. Maybe that's a better word.
Yeah.
Than recycling content. Actually, that should be the title.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a better word.
Recycling content, yeah. And recycle that content doesn't necessarily mean it's going to perform the same. Could be better, could be worse. But our other friend, like I said, who does recycle content almost every quarter, sees some pretty consistent viewership from that. So
yeah. Well, and I think too, don't be afraid to fail. I mean, we have and to clarify, if you've never listened to this before and you don't know anything about YouTube, 10 out of 10 ranking is not good. That's the lowest. 1 out of 10 is the best. And so, we even after years of doing this have made mistakes and have put out content that has not necessarily taken off in the first couple of weeks or months that we put it out. And that's completely okay. It's not going to kill your channel. So if you recycle something and it doesn't work for you, it's better to at least have gotten a video out than not getting a video out. A 10 out of 10 is still better than a 0 out of 10 when you don't actually publish anything. So it's just a way of kind of keeping you in the groove. And also just throw out all of the things that you think that about real estate when it comes to YouTube, because it's kind of counterintuitive the way that YouTube works versus the way that you've been taught by most real estate professionals to create content. You need to create content that isn't necessarily honed in on the home buying experience and honed in on how to get a mortgage. Those are the things that have been taught year over year, in the past, and it's just not relevant on YouTube. So just do those boring basics. Like we've said before, just stick to that list, recycle content. If you start running out of ideas, I would encourage you to go back and look at your top performing content and create a follow-up video for that. Not necessarily following up on what you talked about, but basically covering that area again. We've done that with Frisco, where, we always have a video every single year that just blows up in the Frisco or the Prosper area. And we'll usually go back and do another video on that, another vlog video, recreate that. And that's usually a good litmus test for success, because if it was successful the first time, it may not perform the same as the second time. It could do better or it could do a little bit worse, but it's still going to hit home. It's going to be a home run for somebody because it was popular before, highly searched before. So just keep it in mind. Throw out just the misconceptions that you may have had about YouTube. It all comes down to simplicity is really what it is. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think that covers it. Actually, I got to jump to a podcast I'm going to be a guest on here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to refresh, powder my nose a little bit, get ready for the camera. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode.
See you later.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching at no cost, schedule a call at passiveprospectingpartner.com.